For years, people with diabetes have been told one simple rule: bread is off limits, no questions asked. Many were warned that even a small slice could undo their efforts, no matter how careful they tried to be. That belief planted fear around something familiar, turning everyday meals into moments of stress and doubt. But what if that rule is incomplete, and what you'll learn today changes how you see bread entirely? For many older adults, giving up bread meant losing more than food. It meant losing familiar moments they loved. Morning toast, a simple sandwich, these weren't indulgences, they were part of daily comfort built over decades. When those foods disappear, people don't just adjust their diet, they feel something meaningful has been taken away. And that's when the real question begins. Was that loss truly necessary, or was there another way forward? Let me tell you about Thomas, a 69-year-old who had lived with diabetes for many years. For 7 years, Thomas followed every instruction carefully, including giving up bread entirely. His numbers improved slightly, but something was missing, and that absence weighed on him more than he expected. One day, he looked at me and asked a question that changed our entire conversation. Thomas asked me quietly if there was any bread at all that wouldn't send his blood sugar out of control. He wasn't asking for indulgence, just permission to enjoy something familiar without fear. Bread had been part of his routine for decades, tied to comfort, memory, and a sense of normal life. That's when I realized the answer wasn't about removing bread, but about understanding it differently. We decided to start carefully, not by guessing, but by observing how his body responded in real life. And the bread was never eaten alone, it was paired with protein and healthy fat to slow digestion. Instead of fearing the outcome, we measured his response and let the data guide our next step. What happened next surprised him, and it's something many people never expect to see. When Thomas checked his numbers after that first meal, they stayed far more stable than he had expected. Day after day, the readings followed the same pattern: steady, predictable, and manageable for his body. For the first time in years, he felt relief instead of guilt when bread was part of his breakfast. And this experience isn't unique, it's something I've seen again and again when bread is approached the right way. So why did this work when years of avoiding bread barely moved the needle for him? This wasn't luck, and it wasn't about willpower, it was about understanding how bread behaves in the body. Most people are never taught this difference, which is why confusion around bread still exists. In a moment, I'll explain exactly what made the difference and how you can apply it yourself. Today, I'll show you 3 specific types of bread that behave very differently in the body. These aren't trends or marketing claims, they're options supported by how digestion and absorption actually work. You'll learn how to use them in real meals, in ways that fit into everyday life without confusion. But first, we need to understand why most bread causes problems in the first place. To understand better choices, we first need to see why most bread leads to rapid rises in blood sugar. Most bread is made from finely ground flour, which the body breaks down quickly during digestion. That rapid breakdown means starch turns into glucose fast, entering the bloodstream sooner than the body can comfortably handle. It's not bread itself, it's the speed of digestion that creates the challenge for many people. When digestion moves too fast, the body relies on insulin to manage the surge, and that process can be less efficient for many people. If insulin response is delayed or reduced, glucose can remain elevated longer than intended after a typical bread-based meal. This isn't a personal failure, it's a physiological mismatch between fast digestion and the body's timing. That's why approaches that slow digestion can make a meaningful difference in how bread is handled. To make sense of this, it helps to understand something called the glycemic index, or GI for short. The glycemic index describes how quickly a food raises blood sugar after you eat it. Foods with a higher GI act fast, while lower GI foods release glucose more gradually over time. And that's the key difference. That difference in speed is what makes GI so relevant when choosing bread wisely. Most white and common wheat breads fall on the higher end of the glycemic index, meaning they raise blood sugar quickly. Lower GI breads digest more slowly, creating a steadier and more manageable rise instead of a sharp jump. The difference isn't calories or taste, it's how the grain structure affects digestion speed. So the goal isn't avoiding bread entirely, it's choosing bread that behaves differently inside the body. The first bread I recommend most often is sprouted grain bread because it behaves very differently during digestion. When grains are sprouted, natural enzymes begin breaking down starch before you ever take a bite. That pre-digestion slows how quickly glucose enters the bloodstream, creating a gentler and steadier response. It's not the label that matters most, it's the internal structure created by the sprouting process.
Yes, that's the key.
In practice, sprouted grain bread often leads to steadier post-meal readings when paired thoughtfully with protein and fat. Sprouting also makes certain nutrients easier for the body to access, supporting overall metabolic balance. Instead of a sudden surge, the body experiences a smoother rise that's easier to manage. Now let's look at how sprouted grain bread can be used correctly in everyday meals. At breakfast, sprouted grain bread works best when paired with protein and healthy fats to slow digestion. 2 slices are usually enough to feel satisfied without overwhelming the body's ability to respond. For lunch, 1 slice used open-faced with lean protein and vegetables can work remarkably well. The goal is balance, bread supported by foods that slow and steady the overall response.
Exactly.
When shopping, the ingredient list matters more than the front label. Look for grains that are actually sprouted. Sprouted wheat or sprouted grains should appear first, not refined flour with sprouted listed later. Many quality sprouted breads are frozen to avoid preservatives, and that's often a good sign. Used correctly, sprouted grain bread becomes a smart first option rather than something to fear. The second option is authentic sourdough, made through natural fermentation rather than shortcuts. During long fermentation, natural cultures begin breaking down starch before digestion even starts. This process slows how quickly glucose is absorbed, leading to a more gradual rise after meals. Natural acids formed during fermentation also help slow stomach emptying and digestion. When compared to standard bread, authentic sourdough often produces a noticeably lower and slower rise after meals. The key difference comes from fermentation time, not from marketing terms or added flavor. Long fermentation also supports gut balance, which plays an important role in metabolic stability. However, not every bread labeled sourdough delivers these benefits, and that distinction matters.
That's right.
Real sourdough is identified by its ingredients, not by how sour it tastes or how it's marketed. Authentic sourdough is made with simple ingredients and natural cultures, without added commercial yeast. When shortcuts are used to speed production, the metabolic effect is no longer the same. Choosing the right sourdough is only half the equation. How you eat it matters just as much. At breakfast, authentic sourdough works best when paired with protein and healthy fats, not eaten by itself. Toasting sourdough adds texture that further slows digestion and supports a steadier response. For lunch, sourdough combined with protein, vegetables, and healthy fats can fit well into a balanced meal. Even with sourdough, pairing and portion remain essential to keeping responses predictable.
Hmm.
The third option is traditional pumpernickel, a bread with a very different structure and digestion profile. Authentic pumpernickel is made from whole rye, baked slowly to preserve its dense grain structure. That long, slow baking process changes how starch behaves, leading to a much slower release. The result is a bread that often produces a lower and steadier response compared to many others. Because pumpernickel is dense, smaller portions often feel more satisfying than lighter breads. That feeling of fullness can naturally help reduce overeating and support steadier patterns. Whole rye fiber contributes to slower digestion, which is part of why pumpernickel behaves differently. As with sourdough, not every loaf labeled pumpernickel offers these benefits. Many versions on store shelves look like pumpernickel but are made mostly from refined wheat. Authentic pumpernickel lists whole rye or rye berries first, not wheat flour with coloring. If the bread feels light and fluffy, it's unlikely to provide the same slow digesting effect. When chosen carefully and eaten in modest portions, pumpernickel can be a useful option. At breakfast, a single slice of pumpernickel paired with protein can provide steady energy without excess. For lunch, pumpernickel works best when combined with protein and vegetables rather than eaten alone. Because it's dense, smaller portions are usually enough to feel satisfied and stay balanced. Used thoughtfully, traditional pumpernickel becomes a third smart option rather than something to avoid. Now that you know which breads can work, the most important part becomes how you eat them. Even the best bread can cause trouble if it's eaten the wrong way or at the wrong time. What keeps responses steady are consistent rules that work with your body, not strict avoidance. Let's walk through the practical steps that help bread fit into a stable daily routine. Up to this point, you've seen that bread itself is not the enemy. The real issue is how the body is asked to handle it. But choosing the right bread is only part of the story, because choice alone does not determine the outcome. I've seen the same bread lead to completely different results, depending on how, when, and with what it's eaten. That's why the next part matters most, because the method you use with bread changes everything that follows. For many people, restriction feels safer, but method is what actually creates control and consistency. Most frustration comes from guessing, not from bread itself, and guessing keeps people stuck. When meals follow a clear structure, anxiety drops, and results become more predictable. In the next section, I'll walk you through practical steps that show exactly how to eat bread with confidence. There is a right way to include bread, and it has nothing to do with fear or complete avoidance. Clear rules don't restrict you, they create freedom by removing uncertainty from every meal.
Hmm.
The approach you're about to see is simple, consistent, and practical for real daily life. Let's begin with the first rule that makes all the others work. Rule number 1 is simple and non-negotiable. Bread should never be eaten by itself, no matter the type. Protein and healthy fats slow digestion, changing how quickly bread is processed by the body. When bread is supported this way, absorption slows and the response becomes far more manageable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just what you eat, it's the context you create around it that determines the outcome. Rule number 2 is portion control, because even good bread can overwhelm the body when the portion is too large. Starting with a smaller portion allows the body to respond smoothly instead of being pushed too fast. For many people, one slice is often enough to enjoy bread without creating unnecessary strain. With bread, more is not better. The right amount is what keeps everything stable. Rule number 3 is timing, because the same bread can produce very different results depending on when it's eaten. Earlier in the day, the body tends to handle carbohydrates more efficiently and predictably. Ah, I see. Later in the day, digestion often slows, making responses harder to control, even with good choices. That's why bread fits best at breakfast or lunch, not as a late day habit. Rule number 4 is personal testing, because no guideline matters more than how your own body responds. This testing removes guesswork and replaces fear with clear, usable information. You're not chasing perfection. You're looking for patterns that tell you what works. When you test and adjust calmly, bread stops being a mystery and becomes manageable. Rule number 5 is gradual adjustment, because lasting stability never comes from extreme swings. Change one thing at a time so you know exactly what helped and what didn't. Right. Extreme restriction creates stress, while small steps build confidence and consistency. Consistency, not perfection, is what keeps bread from becoming a problem again. Rule number 6 is listening to how you feel after eating, because your body gives feedback before numbers ever do. Steady energy, clear thinking, and physical comfort are signs that a meal worked well for you. One meal doesn't define anything, but patterns over time tell you exactly what to keep and what to adjust. When you combine how you feel with what you measure, bread becomes far easier to manage. Rule number 7 is gentle movement after meals, not exercise, just simple motion that supports digestion. A short, relaxed walk helps muscles use circulating glucose more efficiently after you eat. This isn't about pushing your body, it's about supporting it with consistency and ease. Gentle movement simply helps your body finish the job, and the meal has already started. Rule number 8 is maintaining a steady eating rhythm, because consistency helps the body respond more smoothly. Regular meals prevent large swings that can make bread harder to manage later. Long gaps often lead to overeating and stronger responses at the next meal. A steady rhythm supports balance and makes bread far easier to live with. Rule number 9 is adding vegetables for fiber, because fiber slows digestion and steadies the overall response. Vegetables create a natural buffer that helps bread move through the system more gradually. The more variety and color you add, the more support your meal provides. Starting meals with vegetables makes bread far easier for the body to handle. Rule number 10 is hydration, because water supports digestion and helps the body process meals more smoothly. Choosing water with meals avoids adding unnecessary stress from sweetened drinks. Sweet drinks can amplify the response to bread and make results harder to predict. Water keeps the focus on the meal itself and helps everything work together. And rule number 11 is eating slowly, because pace alone can change how your body responds to bread. Slowing down allows digestion signals to catch up before the meal overwhelms the system. When you eat slowly, fullness arrives sooner and portions naturally stay reasonable. Calm, unhurried meals make bread far easier for the body to handle. Rule number 12 is recognizing early signals that a meal may have been more than your body needed. Feeling heavy, sluggish, or uncomfortable afterward is your body asking for a small adjustment next time. These signals are feedback, not failure, and they guide smarter choices without guilt. Responding calmly keeps meals comfortable and prevents small issues from becoming patterns. Rule number 13 is flexibility, because your body's response can change from one day to the next. A different response doesn't mean something went wrong, it simply means today is different. Sleep quality, stress, and activity level all influence how a meal is processed. Flexibility keeps you calm, consistent, and in control over the long term. Rule 14 is bringing everything together, because individual rules work best as one complete system. This is what it looks like in real life: a modest portion of bread supported by protein, fiber, and water.
Yeah.
When the rules work together, responses become more predictable and easier to manage day after day. This approach turns bread from a concern into a controlled, familiar part of your routine. Rule 15 is knowing when to pull back, because even good habits need adjustment from time to time. If readings or comfort drift upward, that's a signal to reduce portions or pause bread temporarily. Pausing is not failure, it's a smart reset that protects long-term balance. When you return thoughtfully, bread fits back in with clarity and control. This final rule is about seeing the full picture, because bread works best when every principle supports the others. Structure replaces confusion with confidence, allowing you to make choices without stress or second guessing. When these rules are followed, bread can fit calmly into a stable daily routine. Now let's talk about what this really means for your long-term health and daily life. Before we close, there are a few important misunderstandings I want to clear up, because confusion often leads to unnecessary fear. Eating the right bread does not fix everything, and it never replaces medical guidance or daily awareness. Bread only works when the overall pattern supports it. Portions, timing, and balance still matter. There's no need for extremes. Smart structure is what protects long-term stability. When bread is chosen and used wisely, it supports quality of life rather than taking enjoyment away. Being able to enjoy familiar foods reduces stress and makes healthy routines easier to maintain. Sustainable habits matter more than perfect days, and balance keeps those habits realistic. Consistency over time is what truly supports long-term health and confidence. My core message is simple. Understanding gives you control, not fear, not rigid rules. Every choice works best when it's intentional and supported by a clear plan. When you know what you're doing and why, Confidence replaces uncertainty at every meal.
Calm, consistent choices are what keep health sustainable over time.
The most important shift is becoming an active participant in your own daily decisions. Observe how you respond, adjust thoughtfully, and keep moving forward without self-judgment. Progress matters far more than perfection when you're building habits that last. When you stay curious and consistent, control naturally follows. If this conversation helped you see bread with more clarity, I invite you to join our Health Hack Hive community.
Subscribe to Health Hack Hive for clear, practical guidance designed specifically for older adults.
Like this video, share it with someone you care about, and leave a comment to tell me which bread you plan to try.
Everything we share here is for educational purposes and should support, not replace, personal medical guidance.
If you have questions or want deeper clarity, leave a comment and let me know what you'd like us to explore next. Consistent education helps you make better choices without feeling overwhelmed or rushed. Remember, every body is different, and what matters most is finding what works best for you. Use this information as a guide and always personalize it with your own experience and professional advice. Health improves faster when you're part of a community that learns together and supports one another. By subscribing to Health Hack Hive, you stay connected to clear, practical guidance made for real life. Staying informed helps you feel confident, not confused, as you make daily health choices. We're here to help you move forward with clarity, consistency, and calm. If today's discussion helped you rethink bread, take the next step by staying connected and learning with us.
Subscribing helps you receive guidance that builds confidence meal by meal, day by day.
Thank you for spending this time with me and trusting Health Hack Hive as part of your routine.
I'll see you in the next video where we continue building clarity and confidence together.
Before we close, I want to leave you with one final reminder about how to use this information wisely. This content is educational and designed to support informed conversations, not to replace personal medical guidance. Always make decisions together with your healthcare team, using what you learn here as a foundation. Knowledge empowers you to make choices with clarity, confidence, and calm. Health Hack Hive exists to bring clarity, balance, and practical guidance to everyday health decisions.
Every video here is designed to be clear, practical, and respectful of your real life. Our goal is long-term health built on understanding, not fear or confusion.
Thank you for being part of this community and taking an active role in your health. Stay curious about your body and open to learning, because small insights add up to meaningful progress. Consistency over time matters far more than any single perfect day.
Subscribe to Health Hack Hive to keep building clarity, confidence, and calm in your daily choices. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you next time on Health Hack Hive.